Chopin, Chopin, the Austin Police Department. We're out here on a traffic fatality in the 14,100 block of I-45 or SH-45 eastbound. The information we have so far is that what appears to be a transient individual was hit while crossing the street with a shopping cart. We do have a suspect vehicle on scene. The occupant or occupants of that vehicle have fled the scene, so we do not have them in custody at this time. At this time, we are unsure of the race and or gender of the person who was hit.
And you were talking about what time did the call come in and who's over this investigation?
The call came out at approximately 2:25 to 2:30. There was a time of death pronouncement, I believe, at 02:41.
And then tell us about the suspects who fled. Is that the only car involved or other cars involved?
There were some other cars involved that might have hit the body secondarily after he was deceased or she was deceased. Again, we don't know the gender. And they remained on scene, and their vehicles are being treated as evidence at this time, but they're not under any suspicion.
That second driver, how did they find out that they had essentially hit this person?
It sounds like an 18-wheeler called and said, "Hey, I just saw a car hit a body." And then I believe Williamson County Sheriff's deputies pulled that car over, explained to her that she hadn't done anything wrong. The damage to her car did not match hitting a standing individual, but that she didn't even remain on scene due to the evidence that was attached to her car.
You said Wilco responded to that, but this is y'all's investigation.
This is going to be the Austin Police Department investigation. It is within our jurisdiction.
Yeah. When the call came in, that obviously came from that 18-wheeler. Did you guys at that time know, at this point, do you know how long it had been since maybe the suspect or suspects had hit that person?
We do not have any indication at this time how long it had been since the crime happened to when we found out about it.
When it comes to this crash, I mean, we saw personal artifacts just scattered across 45. I mean, when you see something like this as a police officer, you know, what runs through your mind, knowing that potentially this was someone who is homeless, experiencing homelessness?
Sure, it's always a tragic incident. We would like to encourage people to, not stay near the highways. They are very dangerous places to be. I know with the camping ordinance in Austin, that's always a tricky situation, but sleeping away from the highway would be a good idea.
Just from preliminary investigation, do we know what that person was doing, where they were going, or how they were moving, that they ended up on 45 main lanes?
I am not sure where they entered the highway or which direction they were walking. It's kind of a mess down there. It's really just a human body with a shopping cart and a bunch of personal artifacts.
Can you describe how this maybe kind of differs from 35, or for the most part you have, like, that's another example of a big highway where you have access, but this one is kind of tricky to get to?
Sure, yeah. Again, we're not sure where the person entered the highway. There is about a 25-foot drop from the level that we're at to the level of the surface of SH-45. So they would need to enter at some place probably. I don't think they climbed down with the shopping cart, so they would have had to enter at probably some sort of entrance to the highway.
So they were probably already on the highway for a little bit.
That would be my guess, yes ma'am.
How long can we expect the main lanes to be closed, and will it affect morning rush hour?
I am not sure. The investigation's ongoing. That'll be up to the vehicular homicide detectives how long they want to spend down there and what information they still need to gather.
No information on the suspect or suspects at this time? Do we know if it's just one or other people?
We are not sure. Obviously, the driver would be the one who would have an issue with failure to stop and render aid. Every time you cause an injury to a person in the state of Texas, you do need to stop and remain on the scene. So the driver would be the one that would be facing charges for that if they did come to that. But we don't know if there were other occupants in the vehicle.
What kind of charges do you face when you just hit someone like that and leave? What are some of the charges that you could face?
Sure, if they're not injured, it would be a leaving the scene collision. If there is an injury, especially serious bodily injury, it would be failure to stop and render aid.
And so, again, but no idea at this point who we're looking for, what that person looks like?
No, ma'am.
Can we give a description of the car? Does that matter?
It's a Lexus sedan, but we don't have much information other than that.
Anything else?
Was it, what's the status of that vehicle? Was it stolen or was it registered?
It is registered. I do not believe it's stolen. I'm not 100% sure of that, though.
You're saying that the Lexus is the one involved in this crash?
It's the one.
Yes, ma'am.
The second car did not hit. Like you said, it just happened to drive, sadly, over
Yes.
the body. And just one person that we know at this point, obviously, dead.
That is correct.
And can you explain, it's a Lexus because they just parked it and walked off? or-
Essentially, they abandoned the car shortly after the crash. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.